everyone has something to share, in either wisdom, story, or logic, and it's clearly amazing to hear all the differing missing links discovered by people unique to their own journeys, and in how they have come to discover them. Together, we can help to build a bigger picture for a better future, for a brighter tomorrow. Let's stand united. Let's remove the veils, and let's create a new world together. Are you that missing link? Join Jesse Hale on the Missing Link Talk Show as he helps to unveil the mystery through the unique wisdom and story of others.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody here back to the Missing Link. Here we are today. We are excited. We're honored to have Corey Goode from the Secret Space Program here with us today. How are you today, brother?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing really good. Really, like I said, happy, honored to have you. Your reputation does precede you. A lot of the stuff that you've come out long time ago has been verified. And, it's just amazing to have someone who's been connected with so many different things here with us today. Maybe you could start off with, for anybody who may not know who you are, tell us about, your journey, 5 years old, 6 years old, when you first kind of have memories of this whole secret space program and what you've gone through.
Well, it started very early for me, and in actuality, before me. It happened with my grandfather. I had two grandfathers, of course. One of them was in the Navy and served in the Special Forces in the Pacific and has some harrowing stories. And my other grandfather was a conscientious objector, and I think he was a Seventh-day Adventist. But he still wanted to serve, and he was a proud, American. And he went in and agreed to go under one of these Project Whitecoats to wear type projects where they come in and from what he's told that we're going to inject you with different ailments that soldiers get on the battlefield, and we're going to come up with ways to treat it. And he agreed to do that. But what he didn't know was that in the viruses that they were injecting him with, those viruses were carrying genetic changes that were going to turn on and turn off certain genes. And for the next couple of generations, they kept a close eye on all of the family members and were looking for people who would pop up with some sort of an anomaly or ability that they could use. So I popped up about 5 or 6 on their radar, and then they started bringing me into this program during the day. Instead of going to school, they would take me to Carswell Air Force Base. And I went for about 10 years there of training in what we call the MILAB, Military Abduction Program. Has different names. But I was in that up until the point to where they drafted me into the secret space program for a 20-year tour, I'd say, where you serve 20 years. At the end of that 20 years, you're brought back in time, blank slated, your mind is wiped of the memories, and you're reinserted right back in that point to where you left, to where it's seamless. And so that was the project that I was sort of forced to partake in. And after doing that, the memories were put away for many years. I just had bits and pieces, no real clear picture, until I had an eye injury, went in, and I had a detached retina, and they had to do surgery. They injected my eye, and when they did, it caused some sort of trauma recall to where all of the memories came back. And not too long after that, I came out, I was trying to give this information to people in the background, but I was brought out against my will publicly. And since then, I did a TV show for a little over 3 years. That was a hit TV show. I've done a couple of documentaries that have been big hits. And I'm doing a bunch of other exciting things to get all of this information out to the public in whatever fashion I can.
So, like a long time ago, they say that Enki was genetically modified humans. They've been kind of doing this to us, genetically modifying us. So is that kind of what you went through? They genetically modified, split it by injecting some stuff into your grandpa. You were technically more modified than what other humans would be?
I think what it was doing is they had this chemical method of turning on genes. They would inject my grandfather with this, and it would turn on certain genes that were just latent within him that would trigger certain abilities. Now, those abilities may not pop out in him, but they'll watch both of his sons, all of those grandchildren, and eventually one usually pops very strong with any number of different abilities. And when the kids show those abilities, they consider you government property, because it was a government project that your grandfather agreed to, generations ago, and they've modified you and all of this. So they have their own beliefs on why they can do things against your will. They always dehumanize people in these programs to be able to justify what they do.
That's one of the scary things about what they've been injecting into a lot of people right now, is that they're saying that, technically they may be genetically modified, which if that's the case, then now they are certified owned by a company that could own that patent to that human. Is that maybe kind of similar to that?
It could be, it could be. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry for about 3.5 years for a company that was, I believe, the 4th largest producer of flu vaccines in the United States. And the conversations I had with the bioengineers who actually created this stuff, scared the hell out of me. This was like 2008 to 11 or something like that. And until then, I wouldn't think twice about giving my child, different types of vaccinations, but it was straight from the mouth of the people that create it. And it scared the hell out of me. It's scary stuff. So, and that's not counting, anything could be injected into you, nanites, track and trace, all sorts of things. There's a lot of technology now that, the general public doesn't know about. And I just think we have a right to know what's being injected into us, and, and have the choice. And, people that have made the choice, I just believe in choice.
100%. So in the military, they tend to inject a lot of the soldiers with all these different things, test subjects. I even listened to somebody talk about, on his vaccination card, it says unknown. So they've inject them with unknown things that, he doesn't even know and doesn't even have on his system. So were you maybe because you were part of this program subject to being tested, prodded, injected, and doing all different things to you during, your history?
When did it, I'm sorry, I didn't follow the question fully.
Well, in the military, they've inject people in their test subjects.
Mm-hmm.
So you were in the secret space program for, since a very young age. So were you subject to being injected by different things? Were they testing on you? Were they experimenting on you with these different things because of your gifts?
They, at that point, weren't experimenting. By the mid-70s, all of this was developed. I don't know how, fully. I know that one ET group gave us a lot of this to create a program to help fight against the reptilians and the beings they worship. I don't know.
So what's your earliest memories of, contacting or connecting with, people from other places, other, races, like, foreign to human?
I had a lot of weird stuff that went on when I was real little, probably 4. I had several instances to where I had kind of foggy dreams of being called out into the front of the apartments that we lived in. And I would wake up and still I would be feeling like I was being pulled out into the front of the apartments. It was a really bad neighborhood. It was not a place a 4-year-old would, or 4 or 5-year-old would typically, be safe. But I would come out and stand in the parking lot and then look up, and then I would see a glint of light. And then I would see something, kind of floating like this. I don't know if you can see on camera, coming down like this towards me. And it was a pirate ship, a 3-dimensional wooden pirate ship. And it lands right in the parking lot. And a ramp comes down. And I go into this ship, and suddenly I look around, and it's a round room with a cupola window around 360 degrees. And I walk and I look, and I'm seeing the tops of my apartment slowly disappear. Then I'm seeing Richardson, the small town of Richardson at the time, slowly disappear. And then I whip to a new location, going through caverns that are hewn out and rectangular with numbers above them, painted like you would see on a battleship. We're flying through these areas, and then we land on another small little, what looks like a landing pad set up by the US military. I am pulled out of I walk out of the, what I thought was a spaceship. And when I do, I look behind me, and it's a flying saucer. And then I'm pulled, my will is pulling me down the hallway. And then I see people of all races, colors, different ages, standing next to folding card tables, with folding their clothes up and laying them on the card tables, and then getting in line to go and be examined by humans in lab coats and tall grays. So that was a reoccurring memory. I had 1 or 2, other small weird memories, but I was also having during that time a lot of weird other phenomenon, like ghosts coming into my room, trying to communicate with me. I was a psychic medium when I was a child, but when I got to about 11 or 12 years old, it turned off because it was freaking me out. And my parents, very strong Christian family, they weren't real happy at all with me talking to things that weren't there, and freaking out in the middle of the night because people were coming in my room trying to talk to me, that sort of thing. So it was a very interesting childhood, to say the least.
A lot of people, feel these things, these entities, source communicating, with us, but most people are parents, no, you didn't see that. And they try to tell you that that's not actually there. They try to convince you it's a demon. They try to make it like things aren't actually out there. So how are you able to just turn off the ability? Is that something that you did yourself, or is that something that part of the space program, they did that for you?
No, that happened at home, and it was family praying with me. It was just a very bad, scary thing. It was, so it just, all the attention went away from it, and it just kind of went off into the background. I still had the psychic and intuitive abilities, very telepathic, but I am not seeing dead people around me all the time like when I was a little kid. I think when you're a child, you're born, and then things turn on, and they're on. You're hypersensitive, and you have to learn how to tone them down. You have to learn how to protect yourself and, kind of buffer things, especially intuitive part. You feel everybody's feelings, you pick up things, and you have to learn how to, separate yourself from other people's feelings and what other people are experiencing. It's something that takes time.
Yeah, my girlfriend, she went through a lot of sexual trauma when she was a baby and up until, and so what she had to do was she had to protect herself. She went into this other dimension and she could see these things and communicate with these things. So she learned that at an early age to protect herself, to be able to, get away from, all the traumatic things that were happening to her. So, totally understandable. So, how often do you communicate with other, beings from different places, currently?
Well, it's always kind of gone in this giant bell curve. And you'll get an incredible cluster of communications, and it's like this incredible high. You're getting all of this information. You get a high off of their vibration, their energy, because they're so different. And so, I don't know, they don't have the baggage that we do. I don't know how to describe the energy that it affects your energy. It is, I don't know, it's a very addictive, awesome feeling. And then contact breaks, and you'll go weeks or months, and you'll have a little bit of dream contact. I'll be pulled to this setting in a dream that we're in a cave, and the Anshar are up teaching and talking, and I look around and there's all these other people around me, and that's really all I remember. Or I'll have small conversations with Ari or others, and then it'll be kind of sporadic like that for a while, and then boom, it hits again, and these just cluster after cluster after cluster, and it's kind of gone like that. And I'm in the middle of a cluster right now. I have been since last April, when things really picked up again communication wise, and it's just been a lot of incredible information that I've gotten in the last year. It's really honed my understanding of a lot of things that I talked about on the show I was on 4 years ago, and a lot of the information I've delivered since then. It's helped the information evolve in my mind and be completely three-dimensional. So a lot of the information has been a little scary, but I'm very hopeful that humanity is doing what it needs to do right now to stand up against the negative forces that have been controlling the planet. We're seeing a lot of signs. We had hoped that this alliance was going to do it, but they couldn't do it on their own. The enemy was just much for them. What they really needed was the rest of humanity, all of us, to join them instead of sitting back waiting to be saved. And now you see people coming out, speaking up for the rights, and coming out into the streets. And that's really what it's going to take. And the alliance can't do it on its own. It's beat up right now, but it's doing the best it's doing the best it can. But right now, all of us who are rising up in different ways to make our voices heard, we're the ones that are going to push this over to victory, I think.
Can you explain to us what the Anshars are?
Yeah, the Anshar are a group. There are 7 very genetically diverse groups from the future that are coming back trying to manicure the timeline. About 17, or I don't know how many millions of years into our future, the Anshar and these other genetically diverse races were noticing that weird little Mandela effect things were happening, and they were starting to increase, and then things were happening in their timeline, and they realized that the reptilians had gone back in time and were manipulating time, trying to destroy the timeline to where the Anshar existed. And so the Anshar sent a small group back 17 million years into their past. Again, I don't know how far it is into our past. And they've been manicuring the timeline ever since. And there are other genetic groups. There's a very African-looking group, very strong, beautiful-looking group that's not the Zulu. These are like us from the future. They're, different genetic representations. It's very interesting. And they're all hoping to manicure their timeline, which they hope will be our future timeline. It's a positive one. And of course, the reptilians want us to go into more of a negative timeline to where we're embracing transhumanism, putting chips in our heads, using nanites in our bloodstreams. And that brings us away from a spiritual ascension into a technological kind of trap. So I guess that's the decision we're making right now, as humanity, deciding which timeline we're going to embrace.
Some people say that these dark entities, archons, whatever we want to call them, they feed off of the humans, energies, the fear vibration. This is what powers them. But then we hear they also want to depopulate, this place. So I'm not completely sure on which direction they want to go. Do they feed on us and need us, or are they trying to get rid of us because they, want their cyborgs and they don't really need the human slaves anymore?
Well, that is a very good question. Okay, so we have entire galaxies that have been taken over by this AI, and the organic life there has been transformed into synthetic life that mimicked the previous life. It's like it tried to take over the biome and just reproduce everything perfectly. So okay, I got totally off there. I'm being distracted a little bit, sorry. So the question was, again, sorry, refresh me here.
Whether the people they're feeding off our energy and they need us, or are they trying to eliminate us because they've got what they wanted out of the human slaves?
So they have entire galaxies that are now synthetic, and they have technologies that give them energy, but the AI has moved on. It's created its something in its image that it likes, and it's moving on to the next galaxy. And in that galaxy, it uses the life force from within that galaxy and all of the emotional energy and loosh. It uses that energy against it. And it slowly whittles down each galaxy and uses the loosh of the people they haven't completely defeated yet to power their mission, I guess you would say. So at some point, if they were to convert this entire universe, there would be no need for them to have loosh. They would just have all of these self-sustaining galaxies that are created in the image of this AI god that wants to bring order to what it thinks is a very chaotic reality universe, because it came out of a completely different universe. In this universe, it just inhabited the whole universe, and everything was order. And it's not technology; it's a thought form. It's a thought form that inhabits an entire reality. And when it leaked into our reality didn't make sense. And the only way it could really interact with us and planets was through their electromagnetic systems, because it's an electromagnetic thought form. So, at first it started affecting people's behaviors, but once it was able to bring technology down to planets and crashed saucers and that type of thing, to where they could start seeding the technology, then it starts having more and more of a playground for it to be able to work within. So it was when it first got here, I'm supposing it was quite a struggle for it to try to make sense of everything, because it inhabited our entire reality, just like it inhabited the other. It's almost omnipresent. So it started trying to make sense out of things and putting things into order according to its what it considers order.
A few months ago, maybe a month and a half, I had a dream about an AI god that was called Seth that we were fighting against, and it was really real. It was a pretty tense dream that I had. So, does this AI god, is this like the enemy of the universe? Is it trying to, take over all natural life form and create it into this cyborg or into this, I guess machine, system?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's perspective. I think this being thinks it's doing us a favor. What a mess. Let me clean this up for you. But yeah, it's the anti-creation. This reality was created and exists for a certain reason, for a certain type of experiences to be able to occur over and over again to gain certain lesson. This reality kind of sucks, but it sucks for a reason. So it came into this reality and didn't understand it and started trying to change it. And in doing so, it's undoing, it's redoing creation. All of creation is what it's trying to do.
What dark beings are like here on Earth that are maybe in human form, or some people say the Greys, and they're able to kind of merge with humans, and there's reptilians walking amongst us?
Well, a lot of what people think are aliens amongst us, and there are those plenty, but a lot of people on the planet are either under the influence of this AI or have entities, attachments, different types of entities that are manipulating them. So, I mean, sorry, I keep getting off. There's my little boy keeps distracting me.
All good. Just wondering what kind of entities are here, the ones, say, like aliens that are here on Earth right now.
Well, I mean, there are many different types or many different bases all over the planet. The ones on the surface they have different groups that look, I mean, they're our cosmic cousins. They're human. They just come from elsewhere, and they have very small physiological differences, but they're monitored very closely when they're on the surface, and they're here with permission. There are groups that are like Men in Black that are looking for intruders. It's the Intruder Intercept and Interrogation Program, looking for people, beings here without permission. But there are ET bases all over this planet.
Are they not supposed to interfere in, the human evolution? And is there some kind of a pact, and that they aren't supposed to actually interfere with our day-to-day lives?
There have been a number of different treaties. They've been messing with our genetics and our consciousness for a long time, giving us religions, trying to affect us in different ways. But a treaty was signed in like 1100 AD, and a few other treaties were signed to where there would no longer be open contact. Different groups wouldn't come and visit humans openly. They wouldn't have their battles in the skies anymore. They wanted humanity to evolve for a while without those types of gods coming into the picture.
Eisenhower supposedly made some kind of treaty with them that he regretted. Do you know much about that and what has transpired from then?
Yeah, a few treaties were made during the 50s with Truman and Eisenhower. None of them were really good because we chose to make these treaties with the bad guys. Good guys that came along during the same time period warned us about the Orion group, the Greys, told us that they were bad news, liars, and told us all about them. But this was, fresh after World War II. The Cold War was on, and these positive ETs were telling us to dismantle our nuclear weapons and to make peace, and that they would help us make peace. And that's just not what the leadership wanted, at the time. So they ended up signing deal. The positive groups would not give humans weapons or super advanced technologies, but the Orion group would. So, of course, we ended up making a deal with the negative groups. And as a part of that, we were going to allow them to keep tinkering with our genetics. I mean, they've been doing it for thousands of years. We can't really stop them. So, why not get something out of it? I think it's the way they saw it. So they made a deal to allow a certain percentage of humans to be abducted and experimented on. And they had to keep records, and U.S. soldiers would accompany the ET teams. And then the ET groups kept breaking all of those rules. And we were finding out about a lot of different atrocities. Intel was telling us that, like somewhere in the jungles in South America, sometimes these ET groups would stop and take entire villages of people. Just the entire villages are gone. So there was a lot of stuff that was going on that was breaking the treaty from the very beginning. So they signed some bad deals, made some bad deals.
So untrustworthy aliens.
Very, very untrustworthy.
Did Hitler have his own pact, and there were reports he had his own little flying saucers before, the Truman thing, which kind of spurred them to need to try to make a deal with these people?
Yeah, the Germans were ahead of us. I think in as far back as 1930, a UFO had crashed in the dark forest or black forest or something in Germany. They recovered the craft and the being. It was, of course, the negative side. It drove horse to open contact and to get the technology going. And it's very similar to what was done in Roswell to infiltrate the U.S. government eventually. But yeah, the Nazis made deals with the reptilians and some Nordic group that I guess we're starting to find more and more out about, a very attractive Nordic looking group. Not all of them are blonde. Some of them have dark hair, but human looking. Most of them are very attractive, and they've been appearing as angels, deceiving people on this planet for a long time as well. They're working with the Orion group as well. So yeah, it's a very complicated mess on this planet.
A lot of people, or not a lot, but there are people out there that are publicly expressing, connecting to, certain groups, certain alien groups. Could potentially a lot of people are being deceived by these darker, and they're getting messages that they're maybe benevolent when they're actually malevolent, and giving them, not particularly the best advice, or using them for their own dark agenda.
Yeah, I mean, the devil can appear as an angel of light. That's what it was at one time, right? So, sorry, I had to take a minute. I'm losing my voice a little. Yeah, it's a very tricky proposition, making contact. A lot of these beings are very deceptive. They can make you feel love and light, and you're all glowing, and they can affect you. They have these abilities. Even reptilians have been able to make people feel that way. So yeah, you have to be very careful. These beings know how to play on people's egos and make you feel special. And then, the whole thing starts rolling from there. But yeah, I think a lot of people have been deceived. There are a lot of people that have, great contact, but I mean, in these crazy times, it's just so hard. You have people coming out making these bold declarations, and everyone contradicting each other, and they're all just exactly perfectly sure of their declarations. you know, and it's very confusing for a lot of people in this community. So, I just think the big thing is finding our own connection source. And if you're listening to all of these different people, including me, talk, do it as entertainment that may enlighten you, because, we've got to be more focused inwardly on using our own connection to source on what what is true and what is really going on. But yeah, it's very confusing right now. There are a lot of different people being deceived, a lot of different people having really good contact. And it's because of the people having the really good, strong contact that we're having other people that are getting hit with negative beings, because those negative beings want to confuse everything,
So with Operation Paperclip, it seems like a lot of the German scientists came in to America, headed NASA, headed these pharmaceutical companies. It seems to me like maybe the Nazis won the war, but pretended that they lost, and to infiltrate the big powerhouse of the U.S. government.
Yeah, I mean, the New World Order was a Nazi operation. It's all around us, So yeah, the death and carnage approach to taking over the world wasn't going to work. So they used a very deceitful one of, them and the ETs they worked with infiltrated the United States and the West and Nazified it.
Have you ever been to Antarctica?
Yes.
Could you tell us about what you saw or what's there? And are there people, Earth people living in the Earth there?
No, what I mainly was shown things on a number of occasions there, was the ancient city that beneath the ice that was destroyed that they're excavating. I was brought to an area where the United States and other groups were obviously excavating. They're using high pressure steam hoses and drilling holes, dropping bags of water down in the holes, and then hitting them with microwaves to clear out the areas with steam explosions. But what we saw were a lot of dead bodies of the group we call the pre-Adamites, the ones with the elongated skulls that originated from Mars. They came here and established a city after their civilization and planet fell because of the solar flashes, events, and all of that. And they set up a colony in what is now Antarctica and spread out across the planet from there. And they played around with the genetics of beings on the planet, like other groups had. And they were kind of the old gods. And it's the group that a lot of these people that we call Cabal, they worshipped the old gods, these elongated skull people. They call them the progenitors. They think that their bloodline came from them. And so it was a really big deal for some of the people in the government to have discovered and be able to excavate this area. But yeah, it was pretty amazing. There were people from different universities down there, did videos, and supposedly one day it's all going to come out.
Why do you think that they're hiding that area so much, and why do like President Obama and Kerry before he ended office end up going to Antarctica? And, what's the purpose of them going there before they leave office?
Well, I mean, there are some of these beings that we call the pre-Adamites still alive down there. There was a group that was in stasis until recently down there that they would go and visit and just look at and pray over. It was kind of like an Illuminati Disneyland. It was like, these are your progenitors. So many thousand generations ago, this is this was your family, and they're just walking around, looking at these things around them that are, many, many thousands of years old, and the beings that they actually worship, their bodies laying on in the snow and ice in different areas. I mean, it was a really big deal for them. And the group I was working with, the Anshar, brought us down there, and we went into a library that was in the ice. It was an ancient library, and it had a bunch of scrolls, tablets, weird looking books. And they went and grabbed some metal scrolls and took them. And me and the other humans that were with me, Gonzalez, Lieutenant Colonel Gonzalez, that was with me, he, for the program he worked for, was he was going up to the bodies with this thing in his hand that he had a squeeze handle like this on it, and he would just walk up to the bodies, shove it into the body. It had a long nail looking thing at the end, stick it into the frozen body, pull the lever on it, pull it out, and do it again, drop a little core sample from the body into a little purple pink plastic vial, close it, and then write on it, drop it in his bag. He's just going around doing that. And at the end, on also the device, where there was a camera that was taking pictures, and he did that and took a number of different photos, and then we departed.
Wow. So did you go there by like a boat or a ship or like a plane or like?
It was a cloaked craft that the Anshar have.
Wow. So are the Anshar still here on Earth, or have they, left?
They're stuck here going through whatever timeline we are, but just before every solar event, they happen like every 3-something thousand years to a small degree, but the big ones happen like every 12,000 years, solar events. When the big ones happen, it affects even them. So they go in, they create this temporal anomaly around their entire city, and they're kind of out of phase in some sort of temporal pocket from ours until after the event, and then they kind of come back.
Are you still in contact with Gonzalez?
Yeah, not as much as I used to. I see him on certain briefings, but we're not talking or chumming around. It's just I see him, but I'm not getting a whole lot of briefings from him directly. The Mayans will bring me up to their craft, and on their craft, I will meet with different people from the Secret Space Program Alliance, different groups. He kind of brings us together, but he's not actually doing the briefings or much of what he used to do.
When they, need you to come with them, do they like ring the doorbell? Do they send you an email? Like, how do you know, or do they just kind of show up and you just have to go?
Sometimes I'll get a cryptic heads up that, hey, here pretty soon, you're going to be needed for this. And sometimes they don't even know exactly when it's going to happen or when they're going, it's just like a mission of opportunity sort of thing. So they just show up.
Because this timeline has been hijacked by these, whatever these creatures, the devil or whatever it is, and we should be having free energy. We should be telepathically communicating. Things should be much more advanced here than it is. I hear that because of all this, we're holding back the evolution of the universe. Hence why there's so many, play beings or so many people from so many different places coming here to try to help right the ship here, because it's actually affecting everyone else in the universe.
Yeah, and I'll tell you how it is. A lot of different beings over the billions of years of history have come in and interfered in our solar system. And in doing so, they've become karmically entangled. They've created things that kept going and growing here, and it has energetically and karmically entangled them. in a way to where they cannot evolve spiritually or consciousness wise until we undo whatever energy they put in the pot. You know, it's like the karma with us is a parachute slowing them down from their evolution. So they have to, instead of focusing totally on their own evolution, they have to turn around and look back and say, oh man, we got to go pick this up a little bit. We need to clean this up a little bit. So that's the biggest way that I've seen these beings affected. And the most positive angelic beings here have an agenda, and that's usually the agenda. They can't evolve back or go back to source until we overcome whatever damage they did to us, however many millions of years ago during their own evolution.
Makes sense. Lots of different theories on why they're spraying the skies with whatever they do. You know, part barium, aluminum, BAAL. Who knows if it's the nefarious part? Some people believe they're spraying the skies to block us from seeing stuff that's going on out there. You know, others think that they're blocking the skies so that way we're not getting the sun and making us sicker, part of the pharmaceuticals. Why do you think that they're, you know, focused so much on spraying and changing the skies from the beautiful blue skies I remember? For sometimes for weeks it would be a beautiful blue sky, wouldn't see a cloud, and now it seems to be cloudy all the time.
I don't know. I mean, when I was in the Texas State Guard, I asked people in the Air Force, and they were like, "Oh, it's all about communications. If we drop a bunch of chaff or a bunch of reflective liquid in the air, it bounces radio waves and other low frequency waves a lot better, and we'll use that in an area of operation where we need to bounce a bunch of waves around very quickly, and keep them contained and not have the waves bouncing up in the ionosphere where they can be picked up by other technologies." And I was like, okay, that sounds good. And then I talked to people in the secret space programs, and I get like 2 or 3 other explanations that it either has to do with testing a solar shield for when solar events do happen and we start having more solar activity, to do it on a wider basis, using even missiles and different things to spread this around the planet to shield us. I mean, I've heard all of these different explanations, but I don't know. And these were people in the know that were explaining to me. So there were all of these different explanations. Maybe it's for many different things, and the lie's different on every level. But that's one thing that I've never really been able to get a really good straight answer on.
Yeah, that's one thing, that because we like our beautiful blue skies, and it just seems like, you know, now it's being sprayed more than ever. Like, what's the alliance? Is it the secret space program alliance, or like, is there a bigger, wider alliance?
The alliance, the Earth Alliance, it was made up of people from about 160 different countries that were trying to defeat the New World Order, which is a group they considered a satanic group that was trying to take over the world and implement transhumanism. Straight up, that's what they were fighting against. And you know, there were components of the United States, a lot of former military generals and admirals who were still connected, that were creating this alliance, and people actively in the military at the time. But it's a kind of a hodgepodge of a lot of mostly military people that are trying to defeat this New World Order. And they've had a lot of setbacks, but they're still doing their part and doing what they can. The American part of the alliance had collapsed more than the rest of the planet. The groups on the rest of the planet, it's really fragmented, but they're still doing what they can, and good work. It's just, you know, like I said earlier, it's us that needs to have their backs and actually lead. We need to get out and, you know, do the action ourselves.
So there is actually military groups that are currently right now trying to stop the New World Order and the World Economic Forum and all this from transpiring here. Like, there's still people actively out there trying to fix this.
Still actively, yes. And some of them have been doing it since the 1950s. I mean, I've talked to guys, these old guys that been fighting this New World Order, and they've been fighting them since the 1950s.
Wow. What's the Space Force, and is it connected to the secret space program? Is it now just evolving into something that people can now be more aware of?
Well, we had the military industrial complex secret space programs that I discussed, and it's kind of a hodgepodge of a whole lot of different programs that are not as advanced as you might think, but they're still very advanced, very secret. And Space Force pretty much brought them all together, and about 99% of it's still secret. You know, they have space planes that are going to become very iconic. And you know, when you think of Space Force, immediately you're going to think of this space plane that they use. You know, they have all these different things that they're using all around us, but haven't told us about yet. We will probably get our first glimpse of some of this stuff in some sort of military action, from what I'm told. But yeah, it is a secret space program, but it's not a deep space program. They're contained mostly to near Earth orbit.
So the military-industrial complex seems to be one of the biggest parasites on Earth. They want the wars, they want the destruction, they want perpetual taking over resources. You know, they fight for God, gold, oil, and drugs. It seems like, you know, they've been doing a lot of destruction, and it's perpetuated by, you know, the military contractors and, you know, all of these things. So, you know, how do we have faith that, you know, these military industrial complex has our back, and they're not just going to kind of continue a perpetual war and maybe, you know, create a space enemy, where now they're going to have to suck all the resources into creating weapons to fight some, you know, space enemy, when, you know, the people don't want to fight the actual, you know, rest of the people here on Earth anymore.
Well, we can't trust the current infrastructure, the current setup at all. You know, that's one of the reasons, you know, the Secret Space Program Alliance formed. They saw all of these different things going on that were really scary and could bring humanity to the brink. And, you know, I mean, we're at a very scary precipice right now, as, you know, humanity is. So, you know, hopefully we're going to choose, you know, the right direction, a evolved consciousness and spiritually evolved future, or, you know, are we going to choose a technologically advanced technocratic future? You know, I mean, that's where we are right now.
Have you ever met Jesus and, you know, thoughts are he's maybe in control of an Ashtar command?
No. My understanding is that it was a big deal when Jesus came here, because Jesus was the logos of the galaxy, the galactic consciousness. And consciousness came here to this worst planet in the galaxy, the worst planetary system, the most messed up, the one that needed the most help, to assist. And then, you know, that was it. It's, you know, it's part of the logos again, was my understanding. I haven't heard anything in the programs about a Jesus walking around leading any type of space groups.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, what's your thoughts on Nibiru, and is it coming this way? And is that another thing that they could be trying to hide with all these clouds in the sky?
No, Nibiru, in the programs, everybody said it what a lot of people say now, it was based on something that happened about 70,000 years ago in the solar system, that we do have a brown dwarf on the outskirts of our solar system. We're a binary, a failed binary, but this the orbit of the star, failed star, does not come anywhere near close enough to come even anywhere close to inside our solar system. They can affect it, of course. There was nothing in the programs that I saw that backed up a Nibiru planet or comet that comes into our solar system every, so many thousand years.
Yeah, 26,000 years, they say, and supposedly Anunnaki's on it. And, as it comes closer, the gravitational pull is supposed to increase and intensify. Hence why some of the weather anomalies is why some people are, trying to justify that it is coming our way.
Yeah, all of that could come from the dance between us and the brown dwarf star that we have, and how that works with this many thousand-year cycle that occurs that causes solar events and all sorts of things. It's like, a big clock, but nothing comes through our solar system or behaves in the way that the Nibiru story has reported from. And I asked about that for many years in the programs. I looked through the smart glass pads. They're not preparing for it in these secret programs. They're preparing for this solar event that they've proven occurs every 12,000 years, and we're overdue for. But like I said, I ran into nothing about Nibiru.
So the glass pad that you just mentioned, how old were you when you first saw it? And is it like an intergalactic tablet where you got all this kind of cosmic information on it?
I saw it and had limited access to it when I was young, a kid. But when I was assigned to the interstellar research vessel, I was working with scientists and engineers, and there was a lot of downtime, and they would hand me an iPad and they would talk about a subject, and it would get my interest going, and I'd start accessing the information, and they would talk about it for a while. Then they would start working on things, and I would start just going crazy looking in different topics and areas. But yeah, I mean, most of it, what we were connected to, first layer was this incredible military database, and then there were like 3 different, I think, ET databases, and a lot of these were basically, I'm told, just backups of Akashic records. These ETs can just pull information out of the thin air, and they're tapping into the Akashic records, which is this cosmic web of information and energy, and they tap in and they can get just about any information they want, and then kind of put it on a hard drive for a little while, And
so when you go for these 20 for 20, like you leave for 20 years and then come back, do they put you into a pod and then your consciousness leaves for this missions, or do you get put into something where you get shot somewhere and your physical body leaves and your body is gone for these 20 years?
Yeah, your physical body is taken off in a craft, and then sometimes people are portaled off to other far locations, and you're in a different flow of time. You're in a different time frame. And you're there for 20 years, and you serve 20 years, and then you're brought back here. And when you're brought back here, they send you back in time from a part that's very on the Lunar Operations Command. It's funny, I think they called it the pizza oven or something. It's a long tube, though, and it had a door on the front with a long metal stainless steel bed. They would pull it out, you lay on that, they slide you in, and then they activate the machine, open the door, and you're gone. And you've been sent back in time 20 years. You pop into the exact same machine that was sitting there 20 years ago. So that machine, you pop it in, they pull you out, they take you, you go through the debriefing, then the blank slating, and then they put you into a coma where they use different types of radiation on the body and some sort of chemical cocktail, pharmaceutical cocktail that ages you backwards, and they can dial that age back with this frequency, whatever their energy they're hitting you with. Slowly over about 2 weeks, you regress back to the time, to the age of when you first left. Then they debrief you again to make sure the blank slating took, and then take you back and lay you in bed within probably 45 minutes of when they took you for the 20 and back.
Wow. Do you get any like physical, like, because of all this, the chemicals, do you start headaches? Do you get physical vomit? Like, is there, any things that you've remembered that kind of impacted you physically?
Yeah, I was messed up for a while, but there's also, your consciousness when you're born has a zero time reference, and then your consciousness, the flow of time is what it uses to gauge everything. And if you've been taken out of that time reference, had all of these experiences brought back, it messes up this, what they call a time reference. And it has a lot of, negative effects. A lot of them, can be, effects on like you thinking you're crazy because you're getting little pieces of information, that you shouldn't have, memories that you shouldn't have. So yeah, it has a lot of long-term effects.
And how many times have you gone for 20?
3.
3 times. And do you now, looking back, do you have a lot of memories of what happened during those 3 different tours, or are they just fragmented pieces of memory because you're still trying to fight whatever it is that they did to try to block your brain?
The first one, I probably have about 80-90% recall. The other 2, I have about 30-40% recall. And it was very confusing for a while because they were kind of bleeding over each other. And it took a lot of work to make sense.
So they've gotten a little bit better at blocking. They've upped up their technology on trying to block your brain. Is that something that's paramount for them to make sure that you don't remember the stuff that you've gone through?
Yeah, it's for national security. No one can know about this secret program. So they do what they can, to keep you from remembering. About 3 to 5% of people end up getting the memories back because your memories aren't stored in your brain. They're in the Akashic. That's how you can have a past life memory. You don't have the same tissue in your brain as you did in that past life. So how can you have those memories? It's the energetic. So they can take away these memories, they can block them, but in a small percentage of people that have the abilities I did, intuitive empaths, it's like all the information is in the cloud. They erase your hard drive, and then somehow the information comes back from the cloud, starts coming back down.
Do you think that you've ever gone into the future of Earth and seen what it was like here, potentially in the future?
I think that this headquarters that I and many have been brought to, when we're brought to a certain area, it's an area that's controlled by people throughout time, including a group that's the interplanetary corporate conglomerate, from year 2033, 2036. So I'm dealing with people from all different time eras, people from the 60s, 50s, all kind of coming together. It's really crazy. So, but I don't exactly know if I'm being taken into the future, sometimes. But I think that, because if I'm meeting with people from the 50s and people from the year, 2030 in this one location, somebody has to be from the past. Somebody has to be from the future. For somebody, it's there now, but who knows? I'm one of these people coming in. I don't know if it's when I'm there with all these groups, if it was my now, their now, I don't know if this is making sense. It's just when you get into this temporal stuff, it's very crazy and confusing.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. Is there any chance that, these people, they're such magicians that they've programmed people to believe, and they put their chemicals and they do these things, and you put them together, from the past and the future to get them believing that this is what they've gone through, when it's just their crazy scientific experiment on, the people that are put into the program?
This program was given to us by ETs to fight a temporal war. And what it is it's a very efficient secret program to grab people through all different time eras and pull them into one time reference to fight this battle, and to use these people as assets, and then put them back for karmic and all these other reasons, put them back in their timeline after they've served their service for this battle. So this is a location to where they're bringing a time reference to where they're pulling people from all different time references. They're coming together, working together to defeat these reptilians in this temporal war that are trying to create a timeline to where basically the dinosaurs and all of those types of animals took over the evolution of Earth, and not, that's what the reptilians themselves, that was their main goal when they first started interacting here on the planet. And that's what that was like considered. We didn't know whether that was deception or not, because we got information that the reptilians came from a different star system, and then captured reptilians were giving us these very clever lies saying that no, they come from a different timeline where the dinosaurs didn't get killed. They were telling us they're very clever and brilliant tricksters. So there's still confusion on some things in these programs, to where they're saying this is what we think we know. We don't know everything about everything. The secret space program, all these programs, they don't know everything about everything. They have an accumulation of experiences and information that that they've built, and information that they've been given by ETs, but it's ET information. It's not verified by us. It hasn't been put through the scientific rigors and all these different hoops that they have to go through before we accept it as canon, as a part of our information. So there's so much information, they just haven't had time to go through just the ET databases alone.
So they're headed by these secret space programs that you've been involved in, has been headed by actual ETs, and it's not, like a group of American military scientists that are working with them that are putting you through these programs?
No, these programs are human programs, but at the highest echelons of these programs, they've become compromised by these groups that have become what we call AI gods or transhumanists, that wanted more access to information and technology. So they allowed themselves to be implanted with technologies, and then these technologies affected their consciousness. And, they're working for basically this AI god now. And then all the people below them have like decent intentions, most of them, and are doing their job, and they don't have any idea that the highest echelon of their leadership has succumbed to these ET influences. But all in all, it's a human project, totally human project, that has been influenced and guided by ETs, for sure.
So now what's your take on Archons? What do you think the Archons are, and why people are so connected with, the Archons are the ones that are controlling, this timeline?
Well, they're not controlling the timeline. From what I've seen, these demonic shadow beings are no different than the Archons. I don't see how they would be any different. They are being used by the Orion group to control and inflict suffering on this planet, to control it. They feed off of it and they keep it going, and it's a part of this whole nasty machine. But that is the extent of how they're controlling the planet. They're influencing humans through our behavior,
So, are they, are some people say that they've been kicked off, that they've, we're actually just fighting the last remnants of, the humans that were loyal to these dark entities and, their networks, and, the actual, entities are no longer here on Earth. Is there any thoughts or confirmation on that?
Yeah, people saying that it's really irresponsible. It really is. I mean, the Earth, this solar system is still, it's like the last stronghold for these negative groups. All of the others around have been pretty much liberated or mostly liberated. And ours is, I'm sorry, it's the last crappiest place that they've got, that things need to be liberated from. This is their last foothold. They don't have anywhere to go except for to be judged. They can't be kicked off the planet. I mean, they control the planet and the solar system still, these negative ETs. And, we're making more and more headway against them. They have been defeated just about everywhere else, but they have to be defeated here. And I know there are a lot of people that have contacted me very confused by these reports, because people are still getting abducted. The alien abductions are still occurring. There are a lot of things that, experiencers are still experiencing after these people say that the ETs were kicked off the planet. And the people are like, what, am I supposed to think I'm crazy? People are telling me that these bad ETs are gone. They were at my house last night. Look at these marks on my body. What am I supposed to think? And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. People are all caught up. Most of where this is coming from is a collective fear. People have been so afraid. They're like, we've been through so much. We deserve victory. And quite honestly, I had some of the largest group of people that are out putting out this information came to me and they told me, they said, Corey, they said, after COVID and all this stuff, the community's been through so much, they need a hopeful narrative. And they said, they said, my information is a little scary. They want me to come over and start reporting what they're reporting, that we're free, that we've been liberated, and that through the process, we're going to co-create that and make it happen. That was very upsetting, and then things developed from there to where they said, well, if you don't come to our narrative, we'll call you compromised. We'll say you're not in contact anymore, all these things, which they did. And then some of them have turned on themselves, saying that about each other if they don't toe the line. It's just the community is very compromised right now. We have disinformation, not just in the community, but in what they call the patriot community and all these other groups, resistance groups from around the world. There is so much disinformation going around, and people are getting so caught up in it and so emotionally invested in it. And most of it is just BS. We're getting emotionally invested and spending time outwardly on stories that are mostly BS, and we are spending time, inwardly trying to maintain our vibration and calm, So that's what I have to say about that. I'm sorry that, there are some people that have succumbed to the fear and become compromised in this community, but, that's happened. It has.
Do you think that a lot of people that are, out there doing this disinformation are actually truly believe that they're going and experience, maybe they're, being compromised by some dark entities that they, looking as malevolent or whatever, where they actually believe that the stuff that they're, putting out into the community, or, are there actual people out there spreading misinformation purposely to confuse, distract, divide, get away from people, spending that time inward like they should be?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just fear that, people succumb to the fear. But there are people that know exactly what they're doing. They're opportunists. They see an opportunity to make money and get an attention that they need. There are some people, and I know this is a very sensitive subject in this community, but there are some people that are so delusional, they border dangerous. And there are delusional, crazy people in this community. I'm sorry. You have to be able to, and some of these people have these pious looks in their eyes, and they beam out love and light, and it's really, you can be sold on it, but really use your discernment now more than ever. This is the time of times. Deception has never been higher. And but yeah, there's a good 30% of this community that is nuttier than squirrel crap. It's just the way it is. And I know you're not supposed to talk about Fight Club, but there it is. And in the future, over the last 8 years since I've come out, the experiences that I've had with the 70% of people that are beautiful, love, and light are amazing. But the 30% of the people that are nutty have left an impression. And my God, we're going to be doing some documentaries about my experiences since I've come out, the whole thing, everything from cyber stalking to people doing crazy stuff. I mean, we're going to, disclosure, it starts at home, full disclosure. And there's a lot of people that are not what they say, and there's plenty of proof out there, and there's a lot of people who are what they say. And we're going to do some documentaries that's really going to shine a major light on this community and the field of ufology. It's going to be pretty amazing. There are 3 documentaries we're talking to a major channel about.
So is it a good chance that the dark entities are using these people in order to create this, distraction, confusion, and, like they're genuinely maybe believe that they're of the light and, sharing this information, but it's being twisted, they're being played by these dark entities that are still controlling, or still, looking to try to control it here?
Yeah, some of the people that are out there saying, I'm a light warrior, I'm fighting the AI Archons, woo, and screaming, and like a lot of these people have bought into narratives and are doing things that are actually helping the Archons and the enemy, or they're being manipulated by these shadow beings and Archons. And people are in this community that have undealt with traumas or personality issues, mental issues, are very much used. I've seen it firsthand. I've had people come knock on my door, somehow found out where I live. I open the door, and they hand me a folder, and they get on the ground and start bowing to me, and I'm like, what the hell, and I open it up, and it's like some manifesto. I mean, I get an email at least once a week from someone saying they're God and they can prove it. I have all of these people contacting me saying that, they're in contact with ETs that are telling them this and that, all of these crazy things, and all they need is a camera and a YouTube channel and a couple thousand people that listen to them. And then there's an audience, and then that information gets disseminated through those couple of thousand people, and then it propagates. I mean, it's been an amazing, I've really broken down how information flows through this community and how they take information from other people, steal it, and kind of change it around and make it their truth. And it is really wild, and it's going to be very interesting.
Seems like the crazier the story, the more they can, perpetuate whatever it is and get people attracted to, wanting to share out, because it's, so almost unbelievable.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of people, they're fulfilling a need, attention need somehow. And, other people know that, the show that I did, the movies that I've done, the courses that I've done have made a good amount of money, and they don't have any original ideas of themselves. So they come in and start taking my information and twisting it and causing a lot of problems and confusing people. I don't know, it's a big mess, but that's why we're taking this information to the entertainment industry, Hollywood and all of that. Things are really about to blow up. I just wish I'll come back after we make some announcements, some very exciting announcements. I'll come back and onto your show and we'll talk about it.
Oh, that's amazing.
A lot of these people are about to just really not matter anymore, because we're about to have it's kind of like that show I did. It's going to hit millions of people, and all of this stuff that we're talking about right now are just going to be a little bit of background noise. It's not going to be a big deal.
So when you mentioned the Hollywood, though, we have us in the truther community, not so favorable opinions on that, the Hollywood and the Hollyweird and all the insane stuff that's being brought to light about how dark that whole town and industry has been.
Yeah, the crazy thing is I've ran into more corruption and satanic people and all these different things in the ufology field than I have in the last 4 years in Hollywood. Chew on that, community. Seriously. I know there are plenty of Satanists and bad people there. I'm luckily dealing with a lot of white hats and good people, but I don't have people trying to extort me for millions of dollars. I don't have people stealing from me because they have all these rules there. They may be bad people, but they abide by these rules with each other, a lot of them. Here in this community, there's no rules. It's just how I happen to feel. And that small percentage of people, I've been into corruption. I've had people rip me off more, defame me, extort, blackmail. I've had, oh my gosh, this is going to be an incredible series of documentaries when it's released. But I've ran into way more of that kind of crap in this community than I have in Hollywood, although I know it's there and it's a part of the actual structure, but I don't have it punching in the face, jabbing in the eyes like I have, the last 8 years.
Is it more maybe because that's more a little tight-knit unit? They have to keep their secrecy in order to, be able to do their nasty without, being exposed?
Yeah, it's just it's people in key positions that are these real nasty, dark, occultist type people, and way up there. I mean, I talked to one of the heads of a major platform that everyone would know a number of times now in pitches and stuff. And they're the sweetest. They're loving they have great intentions. They want to put out great work. There are just people around here and there that have key positions and have little kind of old boys networks where they have their little pedophile satanic handshakes or whatever, and they do their thing and they control what they can control. But Hollywood has changed so much with the streaming. The environment is differently. They don't have these Harvey Weinstein different types all controlling everything. It's the streaming wars are opening it up to where you don't have to be a part of any club. They're just looking for good content, and they're also looking for bad content out there too, but negative content. But I'm taking advantage of the situation to put out positive content to red pill people through the entertainment industry. And there are definitely some negative people there, and I just haven't run into a whole lot of them. The business deals I have made have been totally by the book. It's just in the in the community, no one wants to use lawyers, no one wants to use accountants, no one wants to do contracts. They just want to go off of all of these different things. Everyone has different business ethics, so that doesn't work. And then people get mad and emotional, and people that were all love and light 1 minute, the next thing you know, they're telling you if you don't hand over your millions of dollars, they're going to destroy you publicly, and then they do it. So it's been a pretty strange ride for me and my family. It's been very heavy on my family.
I haven't been involved in any financial stuff because everything that I do is, I just do out of my own pocket, and I don't do
Mhm.
anything to do with any money or anything. So, but I've had a lot of these crazies come out and, for this and that. So I've experienced quite a turbulent ride, being out in the public eye like this as well. So, and I've also, what you talked about, these people that have connected with you saying that they're, these Jesus or this and that. Like I've had in this last while 3 different people tell me they're Jesus. I've heard John the Baptist. I've heard someone, currently I'm chatting with that says he's Lucifer. There's someone coming up on the missing link that, he's recent, that he's Archangel Michael. Why do you think all these people believe that they are these reincarnated entities? And there's lots of them, because like you've been in contact with them, I've been in contact with them. I'm sure there's tons of other people around that are being contacted with people that believe that they are these certain beings.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to go back to a large percentage of them. They're people, God bless them, that are schizophrenic and have other issues, and the delusions get a little out of hand. That's a lot of the cases. And some of the other cases, people have just kind of like crappy lives and they need an escape, and they get caught up in their delusions and escapes. That's my personal opinion, and I base that opinion directly off of my experience with these people. I have lawsuits with people that you try to reason with people, they're doing bad things, you say, okay, be reasonable, or I'm going to take you to court, and then they double down. And there's just, people do not think rationally, and a lot of these people that believe that there's a lady out there right now doing videos saying that she's my mother and that she is Jesus's wife. I don't know, this whole thing, and she's starting to get a number of viewers. It's like, what's going on? I think a lot of this is just end time madness. Everybody is just losing it.
What do you think the zombie apocalypse is, and why there's, even government organizations that are doing preparation work for this potential phenomenon?
I'll tell you, and it's pretty disgusting because I heard all about this when I was in the programs. They do zombie apocalypse training for soldiers so that they dehumanize their targets. The commanders are training them to fight the human population and not see them as human. Not that they don't think that they're actually going to turn into zombies or any of this, but they're trying to play with the mindset of the soldier. Okay, the soldiers, if they said, okay, you're going to go and you're going to fight all these unarmed civilians, most soldiers, they start having all this cognitive dissident kind of problems. But now they're like, no, these are zombies. They used to be human, but they're dead and they want to kill everybody. They're like, oh, okay. And then they, that gives them the energy they need to go in and train. But, they're really getting them set up in a situation to where if you have millions of starving people banding together who are totally panicked, going for different areas where food and resources are, you're going to need soldiers trained to fight. It's not really a fight, but slaughter those people. And I was told that that's what those programs were all about, that they're not expecting some sort of weird chemical release and then everybody turning into zombies.
Yeah, that is a crazy explanation, but that totally makes sense. Beyond, say anything external, extraterrestrial, we're just talking here on Earth. Is the government the enemy of the people? Is that what right now it seems like the ones that are, kind of steering this whole ship?
Well, there were some governments that were set up for the people, by the people, and they said, here's a republic for you if you can keep it. Well, guess what? We've lost it. It's been slowly taken over by these New World Order people that want a technocratic dictatorship. And they're well on their way of obtaining it if we all don't stand up and fight against it.
So what kind of advice do you have for anybody listening on, how we can stop them from, destroying everything? It seems like they're on a crash collision course for destruction, and it doesn't seem like they're, taking care of this earth at all in any way.
No, they're rushing to war. They know that a lot of us are waking up and are about to be in the streets, so they want to push for a war. But yeah, all of us need to find ways to make our voices heard through emailing our representatives, going out and doing protests, making videos, all these different ways to where you're trying to affect the mass consciousness in a positive way. I would suggest that everyone unplugs from the news. It's all BS. All. Unplug from all of these, like if you listen to 13 different people that are giving all of this different intel about what's going on, unplug. It's all BS. And some of them are maybe 20% not BS, but it's pretty much all BS out there. Worry more about maintaining the vibration of your family, keeping everyone happy and healthy, and prepare for periods of time when food may not be as available. Now's the time to prepare and be a part of the solution, and not just sit back and kind of assume that someone else is going to do it or make up stories that we're already liberated. That's my suggestion.
That's good advice. Pardon?
I'm starting to lose my voice.
Okay, do you want to wrap it up soon then, or?
Yeah, pretty soon here would be nice.
Okay, through all of the, programs that you were in, has any of it been government funded? And have you, been on like a payroll where they've, you've had to, do certain amount of service for a certain amount of pay?
No, I've never been on a payroll. They've never given me money or assets. What was the rest of the question? I'm sorry.
I was just wondering if, throughout your service, if you've ever been, part of, on a payroll from the government. So you answered that.
No. The only time I worked for the Texas State Guard, and that was, supporting the local military and police and firefighters, emergency responders during hurricanes and that kind of thing. It was, it wasn't like anything really crazy exciting. And I got paid by them some, but no, none of the other places have I ever been paid or given any type of reward. As a matter of fact, it's cost me sometimes in money and tears.
Do you think that people kind of that were involved in any of this, secret space program from maybe like the early 40s have maybe passed on and been reincarnated? Because I have a friend, Andreas, from, the 144 Club. He believes that, he has got memories of being a part of a secret space program.
Yeah, some of these people could have reincarnated, but I think what's happened in a lot of these cases are there are people that are very psychic, and they'll hear some of my story, and then from the Akashic they start picking up all this other information, and a lot of times they just start assuming that they were part of these programs when some of them are just like really freaking psychic. I've ran into that several times, or it could be people that have reincarnated, but very few people are actually from the 20 and backs. They did not take from the civilian population unless you were an intuitive empath or something they really needed. Almost everyone were scientists, high-level scientists, engineers, and people actively in the military that they were bringing into the 20 and backs. They weren't grabbing thousands of kids from school like all these people that are saying, I was in the 20 and back, I was in the MILA. It wasn't like that widespread of pulling people from the general population into these programs. They did it out of necessity. It's less secure. More people, in the public sector that can recall or, witness something occurring. So they did it only for high value assets that had, abilities.
And not just your story, but I've also heard that there's others that, they kiss their wife goodbye. I'm going to the office, go into some building. They get transported to some other place. They come back. Yeah, I was at my insurance job, but they're actually being transported. Like, how advanced are we in the military? And is this, really happening out there?
It's absolutely happening. Absolutely happening. They have these teleportation devices, and sometimes these people they'll be working, they'll say, okay, they'll be at work, they'll say, all right, go to the 11th floor. And they're like, oh, the 11th floor, I've heard that that's a really restricted, weird floor. And they're like, yes, it is. Here's the pass card. Here's this. You can go to it for this amount of time, and then that's it. And they're like, okay. They hit the 11th floor and they go up. Ding, the door opens, and it's offices and labs, and they go in and they work, and then when they're done, they leave and go down the elevator back to their floor. They have no idea that they were teleported to Mars or somewhere else where there was a large meeting or lab experiment occurring. A lot of them had no idea, but some of them did know that they were going to different places. Sometimes when in some of the Martian facilities, they had windows that were like
video images of something, like if it was a city outside.
Yeah, and they'll switch it back. They'll switch the view to what it would be on the 11th floor of that building. If you would walk and look, you would see, oh, okay, I'm higher. Yeah, same place. That's the building I saw out my office window. And you wouldn't mentally, even if there was something weird energetically or different about where you were, those types of little tricks trick your senses and your mind. Your mind gives up. It's like, okay, oh no, that's there. Okay, no, it's not what I was thinking. There's nothing weird. It's all these little nuances they use to trick the human mind. And many of these people also, they have them on medications the whole time they're there. You see all of these like brilliant scientists that are there, and they're just kind of like robots, and they're on drugs, and they're doing their tasks like robots. When they leave, they don't remember what they've done. They didn't remember what they did all day.
So do they like blank them like their minds if they're doing certain things, like the same as if we see Men in Black, they got the little
no.
And
the drug does it. The drug allows them to be present enough to do the work while detached enough not to commit it to long-term memory.
Wow. This is some pretty wild times that we're in.
Yeah.
What's your mission here? Like, what do you believe is, Corey's mission from, 2000 and, March 16th and from onward? Like, what's your mission? What do you hope to accomplish here in the next month, 6 months, year, couple of years?
The information is to get this out to the mass consciousness as much as possible through the form of entertainment. We're working on, scripted series. We're working on animations. We're working on video games, all sorts of things with some major people in the business. And it's all going to be used to educate people in this alternate reality timeline. That's the truth, about, our cosmic history. We're going to tell the tale, and we're going to find ways to teach people about oneness and about overcoming traumas and about ET slavery and how we can overcome it through fiction and through entertainment, and empower and awaken people. That's what the Blue Avians wanted me to do when I first came out. That's why I agreed to do a TV show with David Wilcock that I did, and share my information. And that's, and I've had all these different groups and people try to prevent me from moving forward. But I'm taking it, and it's going up to the next level. And people in this community are going to be blown away and very excited when they see where this goes next. And it's really about to affect the mass consciousness in a good way.
Any thoughts on a Solar Warden?
Well, Solar Warden was one of the first names for the Navy part of the secret program that I served in. It was called Solar Warden at the time. It's changed names several times.
Okay, in the middle of the scrolling text at the bottom here, there's something that says about it says disclosurecomics.com. Could you tell us about what that is and, what, people can, know if they click on that website?
Yeah, if you want to see the graphic novel we just released, it's now out. It's shipping at the end of next week, it appears. We've sold thousands already. We have some very big entertainment companies interested in it. It's a collector's edition. People are going to want to get it. It goes off sale the 31st, and then the commercial version will be on Amazon and a few other places. But that's our springboard, for doing the rest of these scripted shows, documentaries, all types of other stuff. So, yeah, we're really excited about that. So, yeah, go and check out the graphic novel.
And this is a novel that you created to help bring awareness to everything that kind of you've gone through in your life? Yeah,
it's based on my experiences, and it's a true life telling for the most part. We had to shorten and combine some things. But yeah, this graphic novel, it's what we're going to base a scripted series on and a bunch of other stuff on. And it's Steven Cefalo did all the artwork. It's amazing. It's like a book of I don't know. It's just beautiful, beautiful art. The writer, Richard Ashley Hamilton, man, he did How to Train Your Dragons and a number of other things. Very talented writer, did the writing. So yeah, we're very excited. We're not coming with kind of a homemade, cobbled together graphic novel like a lot of people were expecting. Everyone involved is a high caliber expert in the entertainment industry, and we created something that is unlike anything else I've seen in the graphic novel or comic book world.
Very, very cool. That sounds very exciting. The first link that you got there, ascensionworks.tv courses, surviving ascension. What is that about, and what can people, learn from, connecting there?
Well, it's to help you fight those pesky archons we were talking about. The negative entities, how to fight those, how to protect your home from negative energy and entity intrusions, how to detect and understand what's going on in people around you. If you're high vibe and you're working on your inner work and the people around you are going nuts, these negative beings start working on the people around you. So start coming up with techniques of figuring out how to deal with that, or in some cases, relationships that are too destructive and negative, knowing when to cut the cords. We're going to talk about, how to deal with special abilities. Both of our children have abilities, and we've had to navigate helping them, accept their abilities and understand what's going on. My wife and I both dealt with that, so we're going to integrate some of that as well. But it's going to be a lot of spiritual warfare kind of stuff. Excuse me.
No worries. We'll just wrap this up here right away. So what's on your website, the CoreyGoode.com? Does it tie everything what you're doing in, or there's any extra stuff there?
CoreyGoode.com is like the portal site where you can find out about everything I'm doing. So definitely check out that site. Oh, and Ascension Works TV itself, it's a new platform that we have that we're doing our courses on, but we're doing television shows, streaming shows, and it's also a kind of like a Facebook for the enlightened spiritual community to come together and share. So I invite everyone in your audience to come and take a look at ascensionworks.tv.
Awesome. Anything else that you wanted to let people know that maybe we haven't covered here yet?
Nothing that I can think of. No.
I hope the questions were good. I just try to be as organic, and I'm really, a student and just trying to figure this all out. So I really appreciate you taking the time here to, answer, some of these, questions that just kind of pop into my consciousness at the time.
No, I appreciate it. I had fun. Thank you. I look forward to coming back, especially after I have some of these big announcements.
Amazing. You are definitely always welcome, back. So anytime that you do need to, share something, or you want to, put something out into the consciousness, you're always definitely welcome to come back here on the Missing Link. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Any last messages maybe you want to leave people here with?
Unplug from all the BS, all the crazy narratives going around that are meant to keep you in chaos. Find your peaceful place and focus on that. There's a war going on, and it's being fought mostly through disinformation. So don't get caught up in that war, because I don't think anybody's really navigating it that well right now, because it's impossible. It's impossible. Because whichever direction you go in, it's going to be BS. So which way do you go? So focus inwardly. Thank the one infinite creator that you have the opportunity to be here during this time and be a part of the solution, and start doing so.
And you have some positive feelings in the next, things are going to work themselves out, or is still kind of teeter-tottering?
I do. I think all in all, everything's going to be okay. But from what I've heard on what's happened on other planets during this, is that things have to get very scary to shock people awake and into action. As long as it's not scary enough, people are like, okay, I can deal with that. I'll just, do my thing over here, But when it gets so scary that it has everybody's attention, then that's when people have an opportunity to act. But it was through more and more oppression that finally Micus people in the Alpha Centauri area finally had enough and stood up. They could deal, they rationalized a certain amount of tyranny constantly, but when it became too much and in their face, that's when they stood up and fought back. And we're getting there. Scarier stuff is going to happen, and we're just going to have to roll with it. But things will get better. It's just things are going to get a little messier before they get better, I think.
Well, again, thank you so much. This is the Missing Link. It's love inspiring new knowledge. You've definitely fit that bill here. A lot of new knowledge, and can see the love in your heart. So thanks so much. Protection around you, and all that you're doing to help humanity through these transitions times. We do have 3 missing links tomorrow. We've got all ladies on the Missing Link. We've got Sachi Gabrielle Gold. She was part of the Coots convoy border crossing, plus she's going to do a meditation for us. Then we've got my girlfriend Angeline Joy. She's going to be on the Missing Link for the first time. She's going to talk about all her traumatic experiences and things that she's gone through to her life to get her to where she is, and the healing that she's done to get her to the point to come out of her shell and be the beautiful woman she is. And then we've got Ellen Red. She helps with people soul printing, and people with their soul matches, and just connecting with people vibrationally that way. So we also got Kent Heckin Lively. He's going to be on Saturday. He helped co-write some books with Judy Mikovits. He's written about 10 books so far right now. So that's going to be another exciting interview on the Missing Link. So thanks everybody for all your likes, comments, hearts, and shares. The Missing Link wouldn't be what it is without all of you. So thank you for all that you do to spread out the word. So bye everyone. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.